Good afternoon. You're listening to the WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Watch us live on Smart TV, YouTube. You can check us out live, and you can also check out the archive show. Hi, my name is Reverend Pennye Rogers, and I'm here in the studio with my show, Upwardly Mogul, and I have a wonderful guest in the studio, Bishop Greg Fann, and you're listening to the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group, where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram on WCEG_talk_radio. You can call in, join the conversation at 1-678-619-1402. That's 1-678-619-1402. And we have a disclaimer. All of our opinions and all of our topics and discussion are that of the show host and not of WCEG management. So now you're going to be here for a wonderful show this afternoon. We're going to be talking live to Bishop Greg Fann. And say hi to our audience.
Well, I'll be glad to say hi to y'all. Hi, y'all. How y'all doing
so
out there?
You know it's going to be wonderful today. Welcome to WCEG, and I want to thank you, too, for taking time out of your schedule to come out and talk to us today. And first, to get started, I will talk to you about who you are. Okay. Who is Bishop Greg Fann? Tell us what you do.
Do you really want to know?
Yes, we do. We want to know. Our audience wants to know. Okay. I know we don't have that much time because you can give us a wealth of information, but we're going to let you take over the mic after my quick interview with you, but I'm not going to make it that quick.
Right,
and I know you are on a schedule tonight, and we're going to get you out of here, but we have good timing, okay?
Well, let me just tell you this. I want your audience to know I got a date tonight with my girlfriend, who is my wife.
All right, now that's what I'm talking about.
We're going on a date night before Valentine's.
And see, that's how you do it, because Valentine's is 365 days a year,
Amen.
Not just next week, okay? For those that have to get in trouble because they don't do anything special on Valentine's. See, you're a true man, and I know that you know what it is to take care of your wife, and
Absolutely.
I know she appreciates you for that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate her.
Okay, so how long have you been married since we're going to start this conversation?
It's about 28 years, going on 29.
Oh, my.
Don't ask me the date, but I can tell you the years.
Well, see, I'm going to get you in trouble. So what is your anniversary date? What is her birthday? No, you don't have to tell that on the air.
I'll tell you all of that, but we'll talk about that off air.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get down to the nuts and bolts of this interview, and I want to thank you again for being this up close and personal interview that we're going to have. So please tell our audience, who is Greg Fann?
Well, let me just tell you who Greg Fann is. Honestly, I am a Grady baby. I was born in the New Grady. I tell people this all the time. They see this is the new Grady. It's the old Grady, the new Grady, and the new Grady. I was born in the new Grady.
Okay.
I am a native from Atlanta, and I went to Carter Elementary School, which is no longer in existence, and a proud graduate of Booker T. Washington High School.
Oh, Lord. BTW,
High.
Okay. I'm so glad Joe Flynn is not in here today, because I would probably put both of you out. But I would keep you here. But Joe would have to leave because he's a Booker T. Washington alumni as well.
Yeah, but you had to kick Joe out there. I mean, we stick together. Bulldogs stick together.
Okay, but since you're my guest, I can't put you out. I can ask him to go sit in the waiting room until we get through. But
if you came out, I have to leave with him.
But see, I would be outnumbered. Like that, oh, Lord. But see, I would be outnumbered from Turner. See, I'm a Turner the burner here.
Oh, well, Lord have mercy. We pray for you. We pray for you, baby. We pray for you. We pray for
we
you.
Gonna let you have, we're going to let you have that one today. But tell us, though, who is Bishop Greg Fann?
Well, let me give you a little bit about myself.
Yes.
I'm an ordained minister. I was baptized by the late Reverend Dr. Ralph David Abernathy at West Hunter Street Baptist Church at 775 Hunter Street at the corner of Hunter and Ashby.
Okay.
You know
you from that. Atlanta then when you say it like that.
Right next to Alex Barbecue.
Absolutely.
And I was licensed in the ministry by Dr. Abernathy in 1971.
Oh, wow.
And ordained in 78.
Amen.
So I grew up in West Hunter. Under his leadership, him and Mrs. Abernathy, and a lot of great people over there. A lot of them gone on home to glory, but they really instilled some great values, spiritual values in my life through BTU and Bible study, Sunday school, and prayer meeting. And certainly that's where I started my roots in terms of the ministry.
Okay.
My dear mother, my late mother, Mrs. Alice Thornton Fann, who made sure we went to Sunday school and church.
Absolutely.
And I tell those stories since you talk about tell about myself. This is just
Come
the
on,
truth.
that's good.
So we would go to Sunday school. And then we would skip church sometimes, and then when we skip church, we childhood went to church, went on Beckwood Street around there where ITC is, and we'd go around there and we'd stay there till after church was over, and then we'd go home, and when we go home, Mom would ask, what did the preacher talk about?
Oh my God.
And so, we go down to Tibbs, where Tibbs was, Tibbs drugstore.
Yes.
We go down to Tibbs drugstore and we get us a soda and stuff like that. And then we go on home, and then Mom would say, what did Reverend Abner talk about today? He talked about Daniel the Lion Den. And so she said, oh, okay. Next Sunday, she had the same question. What did he preach about? Daniel lying then. She said, y'all lying.
Okay.
So we got busted. So then we had to...
You had to learn another scripture, okay?
Learn another scripture. So we had started going to stay in church till church was over. But that's who I am. I grew up in West Holland. I grew up in the church, believing in God and knowing that He was the author and finisher of our faith. And thank God for, again, Mom, who made sure, and Dad, too, made sure we always said a grace when we had. And I pray before we go to bed. Now lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I pray the Lord. Those kinds of things are not being taught anymore, Penny. I'm sure you were taught the same thing.
Amen.
As a kid.
I am in that era. And, it's unfortunate, though, that we are losing some of those generational transfers that are important to our children and for our future. And so, and you would say you were licensed,
right?
In
licensed. I was
78.
Ordained in 78. I was licensed in 71.
In 71. Okay.
In 71, I was licensed in 71, and I started the Liberty International Doorpost Ministries in 1980. We were coming up on 40 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
40 years.
Amen.
And Reverend Abernathy and the church came and blessed us. We went to storefront and set us up in the church, and the Lord has been blessing us ever since. And just a little bit more about me, other than the ministry, I've been involved. I had a stint in radio, WYZ, for
absolutely,
a long time. Greg Fann, the preacher man. That was my handle then, and people still call me Greg Fann, the preacher man. And we did TV. Late Jerry Thompson.
Yes, Thompson.
And Cynthia Waters. We did TV over at over to AIB. TV station, and so we did radio, we did TV, we did a lot of things, and we've been around the community doing a lot of things for a lot of years. And we were elected to office here in the city of East Point. Served 8 years here in the city of East Point as a Ward A citywide city councilman, and two terms as mayor pro tem here in the city of East Point. You didn't know that. That's a fact you didn't know.
And so this pro tem, tell me, what is the difference with the mayor pro tem and mayor?
Well, the mayor pro tem provides in the absence of the mayor. When the mayor is not there, the mayor pro tem presides over the meeting, sign all official documents and things like that. So we did that for 2 terms. And then we moved on, and we've always been a community activist. Always believed in the community and standing up for what's right. Served as the president of the Union for Fulton County Employees for 20 years, and retired, and then became from the county. And retired and became the executive director for the union for 5 of those years. And so, presently now, I'm back on the staff of Commissioner Joe Clons as his community relations person.
Oh my God, how do you do that? Okay.
Because I'm Greg Fann, the preacher man.
So this is who, but we still don't have enough time. Wow, I have already filled up a couple of pages here trying to jot down, because I knew of Greg,
right.
But I didn't know the man Greg. Amen.
Right.
And so with that,
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you grow up in Dixie Hill? Where did you grow up? Going to Turner High School? Dixie Hill. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm all right. You're all right with me.
So we're going to be all right.
You're going to be all right. We're going to be all right.
So even though you went to Whitener High,
yeah.
and I went to Turner, okay, I got you. So even though those were two rivals in school, but good people on both ends of the perspective, I'm just glad I'm not outnumbered today, okay, with Joe Flint. Hi, Joe. Hi, Joe. You got another BT Washington man.
He already know that. He knows that.
Lord. So it worked out fine that he was not able to make it today. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you for being on standby. But listen, so now that you have given us just a brief synopsis of who Greg is, who Bishop Greg Fann is, how did you know when it came to your ministry, how did you know that you were going to do God's work, God's will? I know you said with the upbringing from your home, your background, and your home training, but how did you know, or when did you accept your calling?
Well, I'll tell us this is a true story. I was not in the church when God called me to preach. I was not going to church. Matter of fact, I wasn't. I had separated from my wife, and I was dealing with a young lady who lived in Palmetto, Georgia, and I was on my way to see her that evening. And I heard a voice say, "Turn this car around." And I said, "Turn it around. Go down here and see her." And turn around. Said, "Turn the car around, because you're gonna do what I tell you to do." I said, "Oh, I ain't doing that." And the next thing I knew, the car was headed back to my mom's house, and when I came to myself, I could hear the voice saying very clear, "You're going to do what I tell you to do from now on." And I went home and I told my mom, I said, the voice spoke to me and told me I need to go to church. My mom didn't change no words. She shined these little black pants I had there, and I didn't have no suit, and she shined them little sickle shine black pants.
Oh, that era. I got you. I know what you were saying.
So that morning when I got up, I called my friend and told him I wanted to go to his sister's church because the Lord said that's what I'm to do. So I said, "Hey, Melvin ain't gonna go to no church. He ain't been longer than me." And I called him. He said, "Oh yeah, I'll go with you." And so I said, "Okay." So I went to I was got up that morning to go pick him up, and went to start my car. My car wouldn't start, and just wouldn't start. Now I grew up on Hunter Street. At the corner of Hunter and Hunter Place, down by the library. Okay. And my car was parked on Hunter Place, right at the corner of Hunter Street and Hunter Place, but it wouldn't start. And so I said, "Say to him, I'm going to church. I don't care what you do. If I had to walk to church, if I had to walk up to West Hunter, I'm going to church. If I had to walk down the Pilgrim, I'm going to church." And so I turned the key, the car crunk up, and I left the car running, went downstairs. Ed Breakfast came back, the car was still running. Went to pick him up from his sister's house, and we went to his sister's church. Pastor Westbrook was the pastor, and they had these little slips, anything you like to do in our church, pray for you want. So I said, "I want to sing." So they went on in the service, and I thought they forgot about it. And so he said, "Well, young man in church that want to sing." And so he called on me. So Melvin, that was his name. He said, "I said, man, come on, go up and we're singing." So he did, and we were singing. And the song was, "Lord, you know my life is in your hand. You can't make me doubt him. I know too much about him because God, my life is in your hand." And the next thing I knew, when I finally came to myself, the church, everybody was exploded. And so Pastor Westbrook said, Melvin's sister said, "We witnessed a calling today." She said, "God had, when my brother came, my God told me something was going to happen special today. When my brother came, I thought it was going to be my brother, but it was Greg." And so from that point on, I just been hearing his voice telling me what to do and following the dictates of his voice and standing up for the least, the less, the lost, and the left out.
Oh, all right now. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. That is a powerful testimony. So you accepted your calling. What did it take for you to continue or to take that leap into the ministry full time, or do you do your ministry full time?
Well, I'm full time now because I'm retired.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
one thing that Reverend Ash said to me, this is a real story too. This is another story. You want to know about Greg Fann? I'm going to tell you about Greg Fann. I had 3 little children with my wife, and I felt like, the preacher's supposed to be, the black suit, shirt and tie, and, at the church. So Reverend Aronathan was giving me a little something. And so every day I would go to the church, and I would be sitting there in the church. And this particular day I was sitting there, Reverend Aronathan had been on the road with Dr. King, had come back to the church, and he saw me in the office. He walked by and saw me sitting in the associate office, and he asked Miss Smith to come there. And Miss Smith said, he asked Miss Smith, who was secretary, said, "Why is Gregory in that office?" She said, "He here every day." And so he came out and told me, he said, "I need to talk to you." And then so he brought me in his office, and he sat me down, and he said, "Son, some preachers are bivocation and some are vocation. You need to get your job."
That's the word and the truth, amen.
So I got a job, and I went to work. I've always been one that listened to wise counsel, and went to work. And so I retired from the county, as I told you, and so now I am full time, and I'm sharing this with a lot of young pastors who think that they're going to do it without having a job. But some preachers are by vocation, and some are vocational. And if God intended for you to be a vocation and full-time ministry, He'll provide that resource for you. So yeah, but now I am, and now I do the things I do. We talk about Reverend Love, and I know we're going to talk about him in the next segment, but Reverend Love, I've been knowing Reverend Love since, because I was Reverend Aronathan, over 30, 40, almost 40 years, over 40 years, just about around 40 years. And of course, I always wanted to, when I was working, I always said, man, when I start working, I want to get full time with Reverend Love and Reverend McDonald, because I was an activist. I wanted to be a part of the movement. I wanted to be totally in the movement. Absolutely. And so God, he allowed for that to happen. And one of the things, Pennye, I do, if you ask about me, I can tell you a lot of stories about me, but how I got in radio, I was doing a radio program for my church over at WCEG.
I remember.
And then Hillary Williams, who worked there, I used to have, one of my ministers used to pay the broadcast, and I went in that day to pay for the broadcast. And so Hillary said to me, she said, "Are you Reverend Fan, Pastor Fan?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Pastor Fan." She said, "Have you ever thought about going in radio?" I said, "No, I never even bought a record before. I don't even know nothing about no record or no music." So she said, "Well, won't you ask Mr. Swinger, would he allow you to be a DJ?" I said, "Oh, man, I ain't thinking about that." So I walked by his door, and he spoke. And the Spirit again spoke to me, said, "Go back and ask him what it take to get in radio." So I went back and I asked him. He never changed a word. He went down his desk, pulled out the application for the FCC license, told me to come in Monday morning, and Jerry Thompson would start training me. Wow. And that's how I got started in radio. And in training in radio, Reverend Love, and that's when, the Concerned Black Clergy, right, of Atlanta. Cornelius Henderson was the first president, and that was back then. And so Reverend Love came down to the station, and they were having a picket at Winn-Dixie because of the apartheid, because Winn-Dixie was selling canned goods that were being produced in South Africa, right? Okay. So they were picketing Winn-Dixie stores about that. So Reverend Love came down. He said, "Well, we need someone to cover it. This is a black, you're making money off of black folks over the station. We need somebody to cover this." So I just bought this Marantz radio recorder. And so Mr. Swain came down the hall and said, "This your man right here, he'll cover it for you." And I went with Reverend Love and Reverend McDonald out to Winn-Dixie. And Reverend McDonald, I tell the story, Reverend McDonald had recently started his church and had this raggedy van, old van, didn't have any seats. And Reverend Love and I sitting on the back of milk carts, going out there to cover the story. But that's how I got started in radio. That's how I got started in radio. And but I got a lot of stories I can tell. How long did that
radio career span?
Man, I worked in radio from 1984 until I went to work for the county in 1990. I left radio in 1990, but I was still doing the TV show. I did the TV show to 1995.
Okay,
yeah.
95. Wow, that's an awesome career.
Yeah.
Just listening at these, so you are super talented. I'm hearing the singer. I'm hearing.
I don't know about the singer, but I can carry a tune.
Okay, but no, just from when you had went to when you were answering your calling,
absolutely,
or just to get back into the church.
Sure.
Just knowing that you have a gift. And these are gifts that we're granted with. Now, I cannot put a tune in a paper bag and carry it now, but I can do. But in terms of being able to carry a tune, you're doing well there.
Thank you so much.
Because I can't even carry one in a bag. Okay. Well, so now tell me, and I'm hearing my next question, and I guess you kind of know maybe where I was going with this, but you talked about people that have influenced you, influenced your life, and I've heard. The late great Abernathy, Ralph David Abernathy. I've heard Albert Love and his memory, and I'm hearing Timothy McDonald, who is still alive and with us. What are some of the other influences or other people that have influenced your life?
Oh man, when you are with Reverend Abernathy, there's so many people that you come in contact with. But one of the most person that I really I'll be honest about it. I am the late Reverend Hosea Williams.
Oh, absolutely.
Hosea Williams was my idol because he was truly unbossed and unbowed, and he was himself. He did not try to be anybody but Jose.
Oh, Jose was Jose.
And I'm Greg Fann. I don't try to be nobody but Greg Fann. And someone told me yesterday at the county building, said, Greg, you're a cross between Martin Luther King and Jose Williams.
All right.
I said, well, I appreciate the comment. But I idolized him. He and Reverend Abernathy were real good friends. And so I liked him and late Reverend Joe Boone.
Oh, yes.
And who Reverend Boone was a definitely stellar in our community, and he and Reverend William did a lot of great things for our community. That's one of the things that our young people don't know the history. They don't know those people who were trailblazers, who led the way for us, and many of us forget to tell them, because what we've done is we forgot to ask you, did you grow up in Dixie Hill? That was for a reason, because we didn't have that quality life. We didn't have all of the things. And so sometimes we forget to tell our kids. I always remind my kids and everybody, I grew up in the basement of my grandmother's house, not ashamed of, with rats and roaches. I did. I grew up in the basement of my grandmother's house with rats and roaches, but I'm privileged to be where I am, but I don't forget where I came from. And that's why too many of us, we call ourselves to have arrived, but we want to forget our past. We want to forget that we had government cheese. Yes, and it was good cheese.
Oh, and it was good too.
And we had a government peanut butter, and it was good.
And it was good too. Can name some more of those other. Thank God for the cheese and the peanut butter. Okay.
They keep the pot eggs.
I didn't like that. They had the canned meat too.
They did.
Ain't nobody. Look, ain't no shame in my game here. But that is something though that I'm trying to figure out where we can go. And since you're mentoring our young people, what can we do to pass the torch while we are still alive and well as we can be right now, to pass this legacy on? What can we do because one of the things that really stood out to me was Reverend Love, Albert Love, and I know you'll be doing that next segment, talking about his legacy and the mission. But I wanted to know for sure he made a statement when we were talking, when he had the show here, Issues and Answers on WCEG Network. And he talked about not receiving the generational legacy or the transfer from the civil rights movement and those before the civil rights movement. And he felt that personally, his era were letting the others down coming behind him. So what do you think, or how do you think we can keep the legacy alive and keeping it going, keeping hope alive, and making sure that our young people are focused and know our history?
Well,
in other words,
one thing we could do is do what we're doing now, is sharing information, and sitting at the table with them and having a real conversation. See, most of our young people now feel it because they have a college degree that's it. But as mom and them would say is, put some on your head more than a hat. Don't make your head just hat right.
Now.
You need to have some common sense. And most of our young people don't have common sense. They have book learning, but they don't have common sense, and common sense is not common to all people. And
I used to think that, but it's a gift.
It's a gift. Yeah, common sense is not common to all people. And so what happens is that when you're talking about, and I impart with young people, I give young people space and opportunity to grow and to develop. That's what we have to do. And that's what Reverend Love was saying, is that we didn't do that. Not all of us. Some of us did do that, and some of us are doing it, but not nearly enough people are doing it, because we're sitting in positions and holding on to those positions, and we're not embracing young people and bringing them in the room and in the space too. And the guys, I'm president of South Florida Ministry Alliance, and the guys teased me because I said, "You're a water boy, you equipment carrier, you on the bench. I'm gonna call you in the game when somebody's injured and you come in the game, you play, and then one day they're gonna be permanently out the game. So that means you will be the one in the game." But that's what we have to do, because you know most of our young people want to already be arrived.
They want to have already arrived.
You know,
some of them feel that they really don't need to know the history.
They don't need to know.
Some of them and I'm not saying this about all young people, so hear us out. We're not saying that all young people. We do have some very engaged and active young people that are up to date on our history.
Right.
So knowing that we have to reach out to our youth, what are ways that you would like to pass that legacy?
But they have to be in the room. They have to be in the room. They have to come to the table.
So we're going to give them a seat. Are we going to give them a seat at the table?
They have to be at the table. They have to be in the room. Let me just share this with you. The reason I am where I am and what I've done is they used to call me the briefcase carrier for Reverend Abernathy. Okay. My job was, and we used to fight over who's going to carry his briefcase, right? But I carried his briefcase, and it got me in the room. Absolutely. I didn't say anything. I couldn't say anything, but I was in the room, and I was in the room with major people, and hearing and learning and gleaning information that I now have, you know. And there were times when they didn't let me in the room. I brought a briefcase and I had to leave.
I sit outside the room. Right.
Okay. But the reality was they brought me into the room, into the space, and a lot of the relationship that I have today, and is because of my relationship with him and being around him, because people know and knew that I was with Reverend Abernathy. Right. So those kinds of things open up doors and opportunities for me, because I was in that space. So that is really where young people need to understand is, when you come to the table, it's not all the time for you to come to the table to be opinionated. It's for you to come to the table to learn what's going on, so you'll know how to deal with things in later on. Mama and them used to say to us, and I said Mama and them. Right. The Mama and them used to say to us, they said, you will understand it better by and by. We used to say to Mama and them, y'all don't know, y'all old, y'all don't know what, y'all don't know what time it is. But they knew, but we thought they didn't know.
We thought, right. And like they thought their people didn't know. Their people, Big Mama and them didn't know anything. Okay.
So that's what I'm saying to young people today is, we know, we're here to help nurture you and to bring you into that space, into that room that you need to be in, so you'll have understanding. But you got to be in the room. You can't be the room. You got to come in the room to learn what's going on in the room, right? You may have gone to school, you may be educated, and I don't knock that. I think another part of that is we stretch so much education, getting college degrees, and then these kids got these college loans, and they back at job working at McDonald's or Burger King, and all this these debts. So we got a lot of kids that are angry, that are bitter, because they got the education, but they don't have the opportunities. And when they get into a space, they feel they're battling against each other. It's the crab in the barrel mentality that we didn't have. Because we were there for each other.
Absolutely, we had to be.
And just like I was saying about Joe, you couldn't put him out. We bulldogs.
Y'all would have to go together.
We had to go together.
So there would have been two. I would have been putting out. Oh no, I'm just teasing. But I hear you, and it is making sense. But then too, some of our young people that we do, because we have a wonderful intern program here at WCEG.
Yeah, but you bring them in the room, though.
And we bring them to the room, and they're at the table.
Right.
And so, and a lot of times, I guess we were from the era where children were seen and not heard.
Right.
But now attitude has been adjusted to where people have to be seen and heard. But until you understand, until you learn, until you grow, until you're in the know, it's best to listen and learn. And that way you can hear and pick up, and you're able to navigate through whatever challenges that are coming before you, or just being a solution or offering resolution or bringing people together other than, and I'm not saying all young people clash. You have some wonderful young people that have a direction, know where they want to go. But then too, you have some that don't know, don't want you to tell them. But then I can understand that too, because when I was younger, I didn't want to hear old people talk. I mean, I did it because that's how I was raised, and you respected your elders. But then,
keyword, a lack of respect for the elders, a lack of respect for the elders. But elders got to respect themselves.
And I was going to ask you, but then they have to still respect the young people too.
Right.
You know, I know that we are adults, and then some people, you know, they used to tell us to hush up.
Right.
Or you knew to hush until you were spoken to.
Right.
But, and I know times have changed where young people, because I wasn't asked what I felt about things. You know, you did what you were told and you knew your place.
Right.
But now children, I can give them, the young people, I can say that they are, their voices are heard now. And I think that's good, but then you still have to hear from those that you still can learn from, because you don't know it all.
Right.
We none of us know it all.
Right.
But then we do have that attitude sometimes that, oh, I know this. Like you said, some figure that the college degree will get them there, but it's still some things that you can't learn in school.
Absolutely.
Some things, home training, is some things that we have to. You have to get it from home. It starts at home and spreads abroad. So
let me just make a comment about that. I tell the young people at the church, and all young people that I have contact with, your attitude will determine your aptitude.
Oh, absolutely.
If your attitude is funky, ain't nobody gonna be bothered with you. So
and you're not gonna go far either. Trust me.
So if I bring you to the table and you're at the table, we bring you to the table and you're at the table, you got to know, as Pennye Rogers said, when to hold them, when to fold them, and when to run. And you can't be so dogmatic in your opinion. I'm not gonna be so dogmatic in my opinion. Young people that love me because I embrace young people. I really do. My wife can say, young people love you. I was like, no. She said, yes, they do, because they just follow you like the Pied Piper. But the reality of it is, I don't stagger them in terms of being who they are. I nourish that. Absolutely. But then I also let them know there's a fine line. I have grown children. We talk like we wouldn't have talked when they were younger. But there is a place, a line that you don't cross.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a line you don't cross. But you got to know where that line is.
And see, and that's too where your home training comes into play as well, because you knew when to and when not to, or you knew how to. See, you can accomplish anything. You can ask anyone for assistance, but some people don't want to ask.
Right.
Some people don't want help. They figure that they have this, they got this. But you have to know when to hold, when to fold, when to run, when to stay. You need to know how to maintain your position. You need to know there is just so much that we miss if everybody's kind of trying to go in different directions. So how do we bring the young people? I know we have to invite them in the room, to the table, and give them a voice as well, but it's all in what you're going to do with it. It's just not to talk.
Right.
I mean, you got to come up with, because nowadays these corporations are seeking people, the $1 million, the $1 billion money is not what concept is not what it used to be. I'm learning from the young people, and what they tell me now is companies will pay you or will hire you to come up with solutions or products or services that will service 1 million people, not just for you just to make $1 million. Or you come up with something that will be able to help a country, to be able to help a large mass number of people, the masses. And so they're looking in terms of not $1 million, but 1 million solutions to help millions of people. impact billions of people. And I like that. That's good because the money will come, but it's not about the money. You have to have something at stake at the table. Even if it doesn't benefit you today, it may help someone tomorrow. So when bringing all that together, what is a message that you would tell our young people today and our elders that are at the table?
I would say that listen. Listen to what they have to say. Listen, and they listen to what you have to say. Because God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Absolutely.
So listen, and don't be so ready to respond because of something somebody said, because then you're not listening. And that's one thing about communication. Communication goes both ways. So you can't be ready to jump out with an answer because they said this, so okay, I'm on, because you done missed something else that's important and valuable. I say to ministers, I know they teach you to preach, to have 3 points. I understand the outline and stuff, but most of the people ain't gonna get but one thing. So you keeping their hour, giving them 3 points, they done missed everything. So listen to what's being said. Oral Roberts is a key to that. Oral Roberts had one message. It was about faith. Abraham, faith. Over 50 years he preached it, didn't preach nothing but that. Reverend Eichmann Kohler had one message. You can't lose with the stuff I use. And that's all he said. I mean, he didn't elaborate on a whole lot of other stuff.
On other things.
So I'm just saying is it's the message. And what is the message that young people are getting today? And what is the message that young people are giving? And they so many of the young people caught up into wanting to be entertainers, wanting to get rich. That group that you're talking about is a total different group because they're using their mind to help others, as Jesus taught us. Whatever you do unto the least of them, you do also unto me. But too many of them are focused on how they're going to entertain people to make more monies to do what? To do what? So, I mean, there are a lot of issues, but there are young people out there like what one of you talking about, some that I deal with, that really have been trained, really have a God conscious, really understand that it's not about the message of prosperity and getting rich, but it's about what are you doing to help someone else.
And, but prosperity can come in several ways.
Sure.
I would love to keep the prosperity of health.
Right.
Money is one thing, but you can't take it with you.
You can't take that with you.
And there are just certain things that you have to have and not bringing a lot of politics into the conversation, but you have to kind of bring it into play and just looking at I've never been a big fan of Mr. Romney, but when he made the comment that he made going against our president, when he said that he had to look within his heart, he had his conscience was his guide, and that was something that I really genuinely I could relate, and I looked at him in a different light.
Sure.
He had to stand alone, and sometimes we have to stand alone.
Absolutely.
But I do appreciate him for acknowledging that there is a higher power and a higher being, and he could not side with the wrongness that was going on, even though it's been going on for a long time now, and it's still going to continue. But so that made me look at him in a different light. So with taking all that into perspective with our political arena, and you mentioning too how some of the young people today, they still think that they either have to be a ball player or entertainer or something or some sort of celebrity in order to be famous, but it's really not even about that. It's about what can you do to help mankind.
Absolutely.
So with all of your background, and I'm going to kind of name some of the few things that we talked about earlier about you being with the city of East Point here as Mayor Pro Tem, and then you talked about being with the South Fulton Ministers Alliance and being an activist and a union president with the city of Atlanta and working with Commissioner Carnes and getting him elected and so forth. And just by you doing that, it tells a lot about you are for the cause and for the people. So how can we help persuade our young people, because you only have a small percentage that's going to make professional athlete, being a professional athlete. You're not going to, everybody wants to be rappers and all this kind of thing, but we have to let them know that being educators, being scientists, being people to come up with cures for different illnesses, and these are things that we need, and it's okay to be those. It's okay to be smart. as opposed to being entertainers, how we have been portrayed in the past. This is some of our Black history, and this is Black History Month. So just knowing, though, that there are so many areas of our lives that we can touch people, that we can help people, we can help them to help themselves. Bringing them to the table, inviting them to the table, giving them a voice at the table. What else can we do for our young people to pass that generational information and history onto our people? What else can we do outside of those other two areas?
I would say this, just like Mama and them did for us, pray for them.
Amen. Yeah, and prayer does help.
I mean, because one of the things is we can plan and we can come up with strategies and we can come up with this, that, and the other, but except God intervene, as God has touched the heart of Mitt Romney, that he would say, no, I can't be a part of
all right, now.
what is wrong. And I won't let wrong be made right. But that's because God pricked his heart. Until God pricked the hearts of our young people, and our young people understand that there is a God. As Mom and them told us, they said that I wasn't studying Jesus, and you probably wasn't either. Most of us wasn't studying Jesus. We weren't studying about going to church. We were drug addicts. We were being drugged to church too many times. So we didn't want to go to church. Yeah, we didn't want to go to church. When we got old enough, we wasn't studying about church, because church wasn't in our view. We wanted to do other things with our lives. And
go out into that world that they tried to keep us from.
But because they had introduced us to Jesus, it said that we could go astray, but we were coming back.
But you had something to come back to. See, that's that foundation that most don't have today. But since we are talking about the church and our young people, and I know there has been a mass exodus of the young people and their belief system nowadays, what can you say to a young person to persuade or to keep reminding them that there is a higher being? Most would tell you today, oh, I'm spiritual. I'm just not religious. And I don't have a problem with that, because sometimes religion can get in the way of people accepting or knowing that or accepting God. Right. And so what is it that we can do to bring our young people back into the fold, into the church, to let them know that it's okay? Because if we want our church to continue and to thrive and to flourish into these next generations and these next centuries, what can we do? What can we do for our young people to tell them?
The church must
show them.
But the church must become relevant again. The church must become relevant again. The Black church must become relevant again. The Black church is not relevant.
How do we lose our relevance?
Because we became entertainers. Because we did not look out for the least, the less, the lost, and the left out. We left that part out. We too busy trying to have choirs making albums and videos and people in robes, and now young people wearing tennis shoes and everything. I mean, it has become not the house of worship, not the house of God. There's no relevance to that in the eyes of young people, because they don't see the church. They're seeing the church as being hypocritical. Hypocritical is they're saying one thing, but they're doing something else. That's why I say I like Hosea Williams. Because Hosea was who Hosea was.
Absolutely.
Greg Fann is who Greg Fann. What you see today, you'll see it tomorrow and next week, next year, because I'm going to be me. I'm not going to be hypocritical with it. Because the church has to be relevant to the young people. What the young people don't understand is, and Pennye, like I know, if we allow white America to destroy the Black church, the voice of the Black community, then the Black community is gone. Because the only voice that we've ever had as a people was a Black church.
The Black church.
Black church started colleges. Black church.
Oh, they had the school, the college inside of the church.
Inside the church. So, but see, you just hit my point. The relevancy of the church. It was relevant then, because why was it relevant? It was educating young minds. You see what I'm saying? But the young people don't see that relevance anymore. What is the church doing for the people, for the masses of people? You talk about millions of people. What is the church doing other than on Sunday morning, the choir sing, We have, they entertain, the preacher get up, he say a good message. But after that, what are we doing to touch the least, the less, the lost, and love? I tell people this, I'm not a Christian. I'm a believer. I believe the word of God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in what Jesus Christ said. When he said in Matthew 25, and you've heard me say this before, is that in the 41st verse, he said, I was hungry, I was naked, I was outdoors, you didn't live. And for that, you go in hell. The young people don't believe in hell. They don't believe in life after death. They're only focused on right now, because they're not getting the message of there is life after death. You can't, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul?
And some young people, they don't look to live a certain age. They think that, because it was so severe at one time, some of our young black boys, some of our young black men didn't think that they would live to reach the age 20, 25. And
I didn't think I was going to live past 35.
So what kept you, what was that?
I got rooted and grounded in the word.
All right.
I got rooted and grounded in the word. And I stopped speaking that I'm going to die at 35.
Wow.
I started speaking
life into yourself. Okay?
You got to speak life.
And that's what we do here at WCEG.
Absolutely.
We speak life. So we can talk about what's wrong all day.
Right.
We can talk about, and that's why we try to be the positive force for the community, to let people know some resources and some help and some things that are out there which the church used to provide.
Right.
But then if you have people leaving the church or in masses, like you are doing with the school system,
right.
We can see a lot of changes and things that are not good today to stabilize our communities. We used to have anchor institutions, but they're closing down everything.
Absolutely.
And so what can we do as adults? And just for our era, we're going to invite them to the table, invite them in the room, invite them to have their voice, and invite them to be able to help with some of the answers and some of the solutions that we need. And so I know that it just takes a matter of communication that we've so desperately talked about, that we have to be able to listen. Because I do thank Reverend Love, and we're going to close our segment shortly so that you can talk a little bit about his legacy and the next movement with the VEC and this Selma 55th commemorative Bloody Sunday that we will be going to on March 1st. So I wanted to just share a couple of things before I go off the air and give you the mic. But Reverend Love, he and Miss Bussey,
Alice Bussey,
the last a couple of years ago, we were at a meeting at Pascal's. I think you were there.
I was there.
But I was there afterwards, so after everybody left.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they helped me so much, telling me a lot of history and some things that I didn't know, people that I didn't know, people that I need to know, people that would help do what I'm doing here, that I can continue the legacy, since we will be documenting everything, we'll be recording everything for archives for years to come, even after we're long gone.
Sure.
So I do commend Reverend Love and Miss Alice Bussey for, my sister was sitting with me, and we didn't realize, for almost another hour after the meeting was over, and the employees or the staff had to come in and remind us, the meeting is over, but he just... It was just, I couldn't, I just made notes after notes after notes of just the information he was passing on that I want to pass on to young people. And this is the platform that I want to use for that. So, in closing, tell us something that you would like to share with the world in terms of your remaining mission, and what else do you have that you would like to pass on as your legacy?
I think my legacy has already been set, is standing up for people, standing up for what's right, and dealing with the least, the less, the lost, and left out. And I'm not going to ever back, give up, or quit speaking out for what I know to be wrong. That's just who I am. That's who I'm going to continue to be. That's how God made me. So my legacy will be is that I'm for the underdog. I'm for those people who can't help themselves. That's why I became the union president. Someone asked me, the lady Emma Donnell asked me this question one day. She said, Reverend Fan, why they haven't bought you? I said, because I'm not for sale. I said, I'm not for sale. I'm here to help the people, and I'm going to continue to help the people until the Lord calls me home, and my bullhorn stay ready in the trunk of my car.
I hear you. So in terms of your children, your seed, are any of them into activism or for the community or for the cause? Or?
Not now.
Oh, wow.
Not now.
Okay.
And not a one. My niece is.
Okay.
She is one of my ministers at the church. My oldest niece,
God.
she is. But you know how that goes. Children don't really know who their parents are. They just know that they're their parents and won't know who their parents are until after they're gone.
Absolutely. But just knowing, though, that there is still hope. There's still time. It's still time. It's not too late to invite them to the table, and I'm quite sure that you have.
Let me tell you something.
Sometimes but you have to let them come in at their own time because, we tend to resist when we think just because they're our parents.
Right.
They don't know anything. Oh, I don't want to do that. Right. But when it all boils down, when that final call has been made, we all will look back at those that influenced our lives. And believe it or not, though, I know that you have had an influence in their lives and an impact. They may not tell you, they may not show it, but I'm quite sure that you have. They've looked at their dad, they look at their parents, and whether we admit it or not, and you go, wow.
Well, Penny, I have to make a correction. My son, he is an activist in his own right because he is in part of the LTG, whatever community,
LGBTQ community,
right? Okay. And he's an activist in his own right.
Oh, well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, he is, and he has his own restaurant. He does.
What's the name of
it? Soul Flavor. He's up in Stone Mountain.
And where's that located?
It's in Stone Mountain on what road that is. Time you go in the mouth of the mountain, that's where he is.
Soul Flavor.
Okay. And he's doing movies. He's been on Tyler Perry's Have and Have Nots, and he does a lot of stuff. Like I say, he does TV, he does radio. He actually follows in my footsteps.
Well, that's why when you were saying I'm like,
he is. I had to think about it because he really. We did a segment. And it went viral, and people still look at it. A father and a son, me being a preacher and having a son that has an alternative lifestyle.
Okay.
And people like, wow, because I want to say to men, preachers, whoever you are, if your child that's your child decision. I've told him, he knows, and he'll tell people what the Bible says because I told him. But I'm not going to stop loving my child. I'm not going to stop supporting my child. And too many kids are out in the street now because parents have, denied
try to disown them or try to kick them out the family. Right. But does God kick us out of the family when we sin or when we do wrong?
Right.
And so that's why we should embrace.
Right. So
no matter who, what, when, or where.
So when you ask who Greg Fann is a person who understands what the Bible said. He said, "Love you one another just as I have loved you."
Absolutely. Yeah. And see, that's where we come from under the hypocritical standpoint of people looking at us and how can you be in the church and you can't, how we say we love a God we've never seen and we can't love our sisters and brothers that we look at every day. Every day. And so I really do appreciate you taking actually the time to come out. I know because you could have been anywhere else right now and preparing for your date night.
Thank
you.
So
what we're going to do is we're going to close our first segment, but we're going to give our guest this afternoon, Bishop Greg Fann, we're going to give him the mic and have him to discuss a little bit more detail regarding the Voter Empowerment Collaborative, the Selma 55th commemorative pilgrimage that will be coming up on March 1st, how you can be a part of it, how you can play a part in it, and as well just talking about, because we are putting this together too also for a documentary for Reverend Love since he was a part of our WCEG family, Issues and Answers, and we wanted to get as much footage as we can. We pulled the previous footage from when I went to Selma in 2018, and we're going to come back together as a group. We took our cameras, we interviewed. The services were fine. I mean, we had awesome service. Reverend Gerald Durley preached, and we had the rally, and then we marched across the bridge where we took footage of all of that. So we're going to pull all that footage together, this footage from today, as well as the March 1st 55th commemorative. We're going to put all that together to start the documentary to honor the late, great Reverend Albert E. Love. And I want to thank you.
Thank you, sir. Albert E. Love.
Yes, yes. That's how he said and his handle, keep strong, God bless.
Keep strong,
that
God
will be
bless.
that will always resonate within me. And I want to thank him for really giving of his time. And he had other things that he could have been doing, but he took time to come into the studio to bring guests in to discuss different issues and answers in the community, to talk about voter empowerment. And I'll never forget, and I'm going to get ready to close out and get out of your way, but I never forget when he first came to us as a guest on The People's Choice. And the first questions that he was asking was about our local government. And did we know who our council people were? Did we know who our state representative and our districts and the congressional end? And he was one of those, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget. And being able to answer those questions for him, I think I made him proud that day. Joe Flynn and I made him pretty proud to let him know that we are familiar with our local, because some people, they only vote in the presidential elections, and we have to be concerned with our local government. And I won't be surprised if I see your name on the ballot or running again for office.
No, you won't see me. You won't see me. You won't see. Listen here, you won't see me. I will continue to support those that are running who I feel that are good candidates. But one of the things that Reverend Love and I totally agreed upon is we will get you in, but we will get you out.
That's what I like. I like that.
If you're not doing what's right about the people, you can't stay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Reverend Fann, I'm going to move out of your way so that you can have the next segment, and whatever time that you need, you just let us know when you, I don't know how much time you will need, but you have whatever time you need. So you've been listening to the WCEG Network on the WCEGTalkRadio.com, your worldwide community empowerment group. You have been listening to an up-close and personal interview with Bishop Greg Fann, the man, and he will talk about Reverend Albert E. Love with his mission and his legacy. Thank you so much. This is the Gospel Diva, Pennye Rogers, and the next voice that you will hear in a couple of minutes will be that of Bishop Greg Fann. And I thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.